The more you associate happiness with curiosity, the happier you'll be when your curiosity is satisfied. Welcome to the Happy Channel. It's TRS Clips. Have you read 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari?
I think I've read it some time ago, but I don't remember it clearly right now.
It's about the distant future and how things will either be completely dystopian or utopian. I don't agree with either point of view. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle eventually. But the question I want to ask you is all these future technologies, be it VR and AR, with this is the start of the metaverse, or AI, which is already kind of disrupting every industry, automation, all these other futuristic technologies. Do you incorporate it into your plans for the future and how there's going to be a loss of jobs? And then people say that there'll be creation of new jobs. But where will that creation be? Do you think about all these hyper-futuristic science
Absolutely.
fiction?
So we have to, because once these things begin emerging, we have to begin to think about how we can position ourselves as an economy and as a country for them. Sometimes you say that, okay, benign neglect is also possible, but even if not doing anything is a decision, right? So, but at other times you have to maybe encourage a sector to emerge. So let's say there is a sector we want to encourage. We could provide some resources, or if it's for some reason there are regulations that are stopping it from growing, you can remove those regulations. But other times we may need regulations. For example, there's a global discussion on what to do about regulating AI. There's no simple answer to this, but the fact is you have to balance here between, on one side, the fact that this is a great new sector with all awesome new uses, and the other side, which many people, including Elon Musk, are talking about, that this AI could sort of spiral off and begin doing things that are unintended, and with huge cost that humanity will pay for it, because they've lost control of this thing. So both of them are there now. There is no preconceived path through which history unfolds itself. And this is where I disagree with people like Harari, who tend to have almost deterministic views of history. There's, okay, this is where it'll go. Either it'll go this way or that way. Actually, history could turn up that way and veer off to a completely different direction. Or many other unintended things could happen. And I know this is a point I keep making all the time. And it's a very much a important part of my own thinking about the world, not just about the economy, but about the way I think of cities, or how I think about the history as well. It derives from the fact that the world is a complex adaptive system that is spiraling off continuously in different directions. And dealing with this unpredictable, complex system is the game. So I always have difficulty with people like Harari, who have much more simplistic, unidimensional views of history.
Okay. Can I at least ask you about the details of the AI conversations that have been had in the rooms that you work in?
Well, I mean, some of it I can't.
Sure.
But let me say the fact is that worldwide, they haven't come up with a sensible way of dealing with it.
Do you talk to other equivalents of Sanjeev Sanyal from other countries?
Yeah, not just it. I was part of all the G20 discussions in science as well, where AI was a part of the discussions. Some of it is, of course, offline. But let me say that as a general principle, that it's a tricky thing. You see, the Europeans, for example, the only people who have come out with relatively clear rules about what to do. So far, the Americans have basically let large companies do their own thing. The Europeans are beginning to sort of introduce rules. But let me show you how tricky these rules can be.
Sure.
They are one of the sort of tenets on which they have based this is by putting perceptions of risk of a particular technology, and therefore regulations are tuned to the perception of risk of that technology. Fair enough. Obviously military technology, which is connected through to the nuclear button, is an obvious one. But other than that, you'll be very surprised how difficult it is to judge whether something is or is not dangerous. Because something that, in fact, much of the world is about unintended consequences and butterfly effects. So therefore, having these nice, neat buckets, which the Europeans think in which they will put technologies and try and regulate them, very quickly will become so messy that it will become a bureaucratic nightmare. So Now, if that is the case, then what other ways can you do? What other ways can you think about of trying to deal with this? So another approach could be that you say, okay, since we do not know where this is going, we create mandatory manual overrides in various places, mandatory transparency requirements. So we're not stopping you from doing anything, but everybody needs to know what is happening and should be manually, there should be human manual override everywhere and human oversight everywhere. So everything happens, and then in a few really obviously dangerous things, you have, clear Chinese walls or whatever, some way that the AI is not allowed to intrude into those spaces. So that's another way of dealing with this. But there are this is a huge area of discussion, and I don't think there's an easy solution to this.
Okay. If things go really right, then roti kapda makan can get solved for every human being.
No, I think that you have to be very careful with having these, as I said, utopian, unidimensional, unidirectional views of things.
Okay.
I do not think there is a predetermined path that any technology creates. A lot of it is about what we as society, as individuals, as countries do with it. And then it'll go down particular paths. And let me give an example from the past.
Sure.
When you had social media emerging, very late 90s, early 2000s, what was the idea? What did people think will happen as a result of social media? And I'll tell you what the debates of that time were. The debates of that time were, this is great. Everybody in the world can talk to everybody else. Therefore, ideology and all these kinds of divisions are a thing of the past, because everybody will now be able to talk to everybody else. And therefore, knowledge is free and so on and so forth. And we'll all converge into the middle. In fact, what happens is quite the other way. You end up with all these echo chambers, which are now social media actually pumps up. So I'm just pointing out to you that even those who invent these technologies do not know where these technologies will take you.
The only way to predict the future then is to study the past in detail and try finding a parallel pattern.
No, actually, it's even worse, more difficult than that. The main thing you find by doing all the study of the past is that the future is genuinely unpredictable.
Okay. Cool.
So, yes, there are certain echoes you get, but one of the big echoes you get is that don't worry about what the experts are telling you. This is going to go off in a chain and play itself out in ways you did not imagine. So therefore, flexibility will always beat grand plans.
So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out this playlist for more videos just like this. It's TRS Clips.